Hello, absolutely beautiful friends. I'm waiting for us to get in here, and then we are going to jump in here and talk about and look around at this lovely full moon that is coming up April 16th in the energy of Libra. And it's actually quite exciting because not only do we have this full moon that's coming up, but also this is the first full moon of the astrological new year. So it is very cool. You know, it's a neat time to be having an exploration of this particular moon at this time. So I'm thrilled to be here with you. If you are new to my channel, thank you so much for popping in and stopping by. We're going to talk about the full moon happening April 16th at 26 degrees of Libra. All right. It's time. It is time. This is a super packed month here, April. We've got a moon that starts us off at the month. At the beginning of the month, we've got an eclipse that's going to end us. And we are literally stuck in between the bookends of moons. And then right in the middle, we're going to have this full moon happening in the energy of Libra, which is really giving us a power-packed set of energy with a yod formation in it. And the yod formation we will talk through here in just a few minutes, but it's definitely a point that can be challenging. So I think we're going to have a little bit of a destiny shakeup at this particular moon. And if you are particularly moon sensitive, you may be feeling these energies pulling in a bit sooner than this. We will be having this moon just after the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. So things that you have been feeling have been trying to dissolve, or they've been trying to dissolve in some way so that they can make space for what is possible for you next. We're going to see these things dissolving, but this particular moon runs us into a challenge, something that maybe feels like at the apex point of this yod is stopping us from having the desire, having what it is that we desire. Now we're also going to see at this moon that we've got a little block with Saturn in a square. It's not the end of the world, but I want to talk about both sides of what this can feel like and how this can express itself, and then leave you to go back and listen and look at your own life and your own lessons and where you're at right now and see where you're at in the evolution of these energies. And then, of course, share with me, please come share with our community after the full moon and tell me what comes to pass for you, what is manifested for you, how are you seeing these energies? Okay, let's get in here, and I want to point out and look a little bit around this chart. Now, first and foremost, like I said, the full moon we're going to see happening is going to be at 26 degrees of Libra. Now, what this means when we're looking at a full moon as it's happening like that is that we are going to see the moon on one side, and we're going to see Saturn on the sun on the other side. Okay, so they're pulling in an opposing manner is really what we're getting to experience. So as the sun and the moon are here in opposition to one another, one of the things we get the opportunity to experience is the opposing energy, right? My needs versus my wants. I feel like we're going this way or something's going this way. Things are pulling in two different directions. And this can be very internal. It can be an external experience. You know, I'm going one direction and my partner wants to go the other way, or whatever that looks like. It's an absolute opposition. So a pulling in two directions. Now, the work of an opposition to relieve it, to really work that opposition, we want to be using an integration tactic. It's the need to see where both sides of this opposition, the moon and the sun in this case, are right. Where are they correct? And we can make compromise to meet in the middle. We're always looking for integration when it comes down to working with these particular aspects in astrology. So this is something I want you to keep in mind, and think about this in your own life and in your own world. Where are you already seeing a need for integration to be happening so that you can make some decisions, have some calm, have some peace, find your center a little bit? These are things we want to be considering, okay? Now, not only do we want to consider that it is an opposition of the sun and the moon, so my insides and my outsides, but we need to consider the season that both of these energies are placed in. We've got the sun up here in, yes, let's do it, let's be about it, let's be headstrong and go get after it, Aries, which can also be represented and interpreted as the sacred gardener, like really really getting in there, tilling the soil, but it is an active, it is an in motion, it is an initiate kind of energy. The sun is motivated to do, to put our heads down and ram, right, through what it is that we're doing to get started. Whereas we've got the moon traveling through the energy of Libra, which is saying, what do we do? Not what do I do? What do we do that's going to create some balance? How do we create balance? How do we create a space where it is both of us? It's really the axis of the me and the we is what we're dealing with. So you can really feel, I mean, at least I can. Can you guys feel that already? The pull at this moon between the me and the we. I have to make my destiny happen. I have to go after it. I have to do this. Very impulsive Aries energy, which is not bad when it is channeled correctly, right? There's nothing wrong with it. We have to have the sun in order to shine. If we were ego free, there'd be no people, right? We would never get anything done. It can't always just be the we, but also where does the we and the me fit into this particular picture? Okay. Now, as we have this opposition at the full moon, it is all of the light in the sky. The sky is lit up, as opposed to when we get to the new moon time and it's dark. It's the time of magic where we plant our seeds of intention in the soil of magic, but it is dark, so you don't know what's happening. You don't actually know how it's going to pan out and play out, right? You have to plant it and intuitively hope that you planted cucumber seeds, so you're going to get cucumbers, right? But at the full moon, that is not the case. All of the lights are on. We are looking at things for what they are. It can be intensely emotionally charged because we see things in a light that there was almost a veil over for some time. So the full moon asks us to end something, acknowledge something, or make an adjustment in some fashion to what we've had going on. In this particular case, full moon in Libra, it's going to be, where are the places that we need to seek balance in our lives, our relationships and our relationship dynamics that we have going in our lives, the places that we have, we feel like there is injustice. This could be a big theme that is coming up, whether that's in your relationships, even you could show up in your finances, right? But whatever that is, there is that sense and that theme happening around this energy that we're being asked to end, acknowledge, or adjust. And I want to point out here that just because something is coming to a point of ending at the full moon, that is not necessarily the indicator that your relationship is going to break up. If there's all kinds of cracks in that cement and both partners are not actively working on healing those cracks or filling them in so that you're moving together, yes, I believe that the universe takes relationships that can't fit the bill and match the vibration out all of the time. But sometimes what it means is that a relationship, including the relationship of you with you, right? You and whatever you call your creator, you with the universe, right? It has to end in a certain way in order to be free to be adjusted and acknowledged in another way. So nothing is absolutely set in stone. You really need to look at this and examine it next to the actions and attitudes and behaviors that are already showing up in your life and in your partnerships. And then also pour this over the dynamic of actually looking at your own chart to see what else is triggered. We want to see what's happening at 26 degrees of Libra, 26 degrees of Aries, 26 degrees of any of the cardinal energies, and you're going to definitely have a point that interacts here. So keep that in mind as you're listening to myself or to anybody else. Everything is not doom and gloom, and this is the absolute thing that will happen. It will very much so depend on the manifestations of these energies already in your lives. But my friends, I don't want to put any, I just don't want to doll this one up. I think we're going to get kicked in different directions as far as our relationships go. There are relationship dynamics on this table that are under challenge. Now, as we look at this particular moon, we want to take note here. Oh, where'd my mouse go? Here we go. We want to take note of this particular aspect first. The moon is sitting in square to this Saturnian energy. Okay, we've got a real tough square here. Now, not that every square needs to be terrible. I don't think that at all. Squares actually what get us moving, right? They make us do something. They make us go, wait a minute, I don't want to be stuck in this box. I don't like being under this square. I need to do something. But this is a full moon. There's a lot of intensity pointing to something that has to change and has to break down. Pluto is absolutely slowed down, getting prepared for this retrograde. So vibrating at this ending degree of 28 degrees, it is very clear on what it is taking out and what it is trying to take out and adjust and give you an opportunity to say, this won't work for me anymore, are things that don't fit your structure anymore. Things where there are role dynamics that you're not being able to fit into. I also think that if there are areas of your life where Pluto is vibrating that you feel like you're not able to achieve, or you're not able to take the fullest responsibility, right? You're not able to step up to your potential in the fullest in these particular areas and actually create. This can feel really hard. It can feel lonely. It can feel sad and frustrating and like you are being blocked. Okay, I want to caution every single one of us out there, while we're going to talk about the positive sides of the square as well, take the blame game off the table. This is a full moon. All of the lights are on. If the areas of your life are not looking the way that you would like them to, if they're not as healthy, if you're not feeling like you're not able to make the starts that you would like to make, this is the time to be stepping up and taking that responsibility. But it can feel hard against our relationships. You know, are you coming into this moon? And again, whether it's a relationship with you with other people, you in the divine energy, whatever the relationship dynamic is, do you feel like there is a relationship that is standing in your way of moving towards your fullest potential? This is a universal energy that people are under right now. And you have to ask the question, you know, is this, where do I need to take full responsibility for my own emotional health, my own emotional maturity, my own emotional balance, so that I'm not the sun in Aries just impulsively making decisions to change relationships, end relationships, adjust relationships in ways that there's not been enough consideration, but in ways that do allow me to step into the profound empowerment, Pluto, of taking responsibility for what I'm bringing to my own table that maybe is complicating things. And this is not an indicator that you're doing anything wrong. It is the indicator at this moon of a need for adjustment, right? Or a need for acknowledgement as to what may be standing in the way. Where that sun in Aries wants to just go headstrong and make decisions at this full moon and over that next 4 weeks, and I'm going to do it my way. That moon in Libra says, hold on, let's soften for a second and just pause. Yes, we need to move forward. We have to do that. But I'm not in a bad mood, or I'm not having a bad life experience because of so-and-so over here, right? I get to be responsible for how I show up in this relationship. And by granting myself the power of responsibility in whatever area of this chart it is, you free yourself from the ties that bind you to this other relationship energy. You create a space of dynamic freedom here. Now, this becomes really important, I think, when we look at this yod that is available in this chart. And this is a real sticking point, I think, at this particular full moon. Now, a yod, first and foremost, the shape that it is it's these two quincunx, or these two blue lines that you can see from the moon to this north node in Taurus. Then we also see another quincunx set of energy happening to Jupiter and Neptune, who are over in the energy of Pisces, nicely conjunct right here. So they're working hard and fast together. Okay, so they've got a lot of energy going. And then the sextile that is connecting the energies between Jupiter and that north node, as well as the Pisces, the Venus in Pisces with that Uranus in Taurus. Okay, but I want to focus on the yod between the north node and the moon, as well as Jupiter and Neptune and the moon, and then the sextile. That is what creates a yod. So it creates this little finger pointing situation. And if you can see and you can spot it, the apex or the tip point of this particular moon actually lands right there, or this particular aspect, my goodness, lands right there at the moon. This is a big deal because what's happening in this particular conversation and this particular arrangement is a yod is a challenge. It creates challenge in astrology because you want to think about the conversation between the aspects of the planets. You know, you want them to be able to have a nice conversation with each other. If you haven't watched the aspects class with Catherine Goshen, I'll make sure and put that in the description box so you can check it out if you're still learning. But you want the aspects to be able to have an easy conversation so that they can work together and understand how to maneuver different situations. But when we get into a situation where we've got two quincunx, the quincunx are planets that they're 150 degrees apart from each other and they don't have anything in common. They are not able to find a quick, easy sense of balance, Libra, or rebalancing what's going on, because by element, by modality, by polarity, they don't match. They do not speak the same language. So you've got a set of interactions here who need to get a job done, and they all speak different languages. So what are we going to do about a thing like that? Right? What are you going to do in that particular point? Now, where it's going to release a little bit of chaos, because this is like a crisis action, but it can also be, this is what was fated. This is what was always fated to happen kind of energy, but it can come out feeling a bit like crisis or intensity. And it's going to come out at the apex point in the moon, okay? Now, because it's coming out at the moon is why I think it is so particularly intense, because you are emotionally motivated by a relationship that you maybe potentially think is blocking your destiny or blocking the pathway forward. That's tough, because these planets who are being presented with the challenge of dissolving something and moving towards destiny feel stuck in your emotional body around a relationship. And that's what makes it feel, or can make it feel, more intensely heavy, in addition to that square with Saturn as well. Now, what do you do with a yod, right? Like, they don't have this natural ease and tendency to work with each other because they're all speaking different languages. So where we want to lean into the helpers are looking at that sextile between the North Node and then Jupiter and Pisces in conjunction in their sextile, okay? Because these planets, they get along, they understand, they're compatible and work well together. And excuse me, the node is not a planet, it's a point. But these speak the same or a similar language. So we want to look at working that sextile. Okay, so when we get a sextile, it creates a pocket of opportunity. And then we're going to intelligently take action on how to work that out, how to take advantage of that opportunity. So at this yod, are you feeling like there is a relationship that is blocking my progress, that is blocking me moving forward, is stopping me from taking full responsibility of my potential? What's got to happen to relieve the tension from that emotional being is that these two planets are going to have to work together. So in here's what I'd like to offer you to think about. In the sextile aspect between Jupiter, Neptune, and that node, what do you feel like has been being dissolved, or it's been calling to you in your dream life, in your meditation life, in the symbols that you're watching and that you're seeing? What do you feel like it's time to dissolve? It's time to forgive. It's time to surrender. It's time to move to a more spiritual means of handling that particular situation in your life. And as you do so, that releasing, the surrender to win, allows you to make anything possible and happen as you take the opportunity to move towards the steadiness of that north node. Where does surrender actually allow you to win in creating a new resource for yourself, standing in the values that you have and you've built and you believe for yourself at this time? Where does this align with a different set of ideals for you that you can now actively live in, but they are in challenge still to this moon, right? They're still in challenge down here. So we want to take the ease first, and then one of two things becomes available to happen, right? One of these two sides of this sextile are going to have to bend and get willing to make enough adjustment to have a conversation and have the courage to make decisions that will support this moon. So whether it is the north node is going to adjust enough to be flexible with that airy moon to say, okay, maybe there's another way to navigate this relationship. Maybe I haven't been taking on my own personal responsibility for owning my emotions. You know, when's the last time you actively said, that person makes me feel like? When's the last time you said that? This situation makes me feel like, as opposed to this person is offering me an opportunity to explore this emotion, this situation over here. Where have you not been flexible enough to own maybe an unhealthy pattern, codependency that's been coming up, something that you're doing just because it's like an obsession or an addiction, right? And where are you having to be flexible in your value around that situation? Where are you having to be flexible in your understanding about resources? Where are you having to be flexible in your ideas about the roles that relationships are maybe taking in your life? These are big questions. And remember, earth and air don't speak easily to each other. Now, where I think the node being a little bit more flexible with this moon is going to be helpful is that they are both lunar energies. So we can lean into the fact that they have that similarity in mind, as opposed to asking Jupiter and Neptune, who have recently been in their conjunction just a few days earlier. We're still seeing them beautifully conjunct, putting off a lot of energy. We're going to ask these two big energies who come together, they haven't been together in the same sign for a very long time, to just get on board with the ideas of air. I don't know that feels like it's harder to do. It feels like it's more worrisome. Remember, Pisces is a mutable energy. So I'm just going to worry about what I've been thinking. I'm going to worry about these ideas, or I'm going to surrender the wrong things because I don't have enough flexibility, or I have too much flexibility to be able to actually do that in a way that is useful and productive. So I think those are some really interesting dynamics that we're going to get to see and work through at this particular moon. Now, this set too, We've got a lot going on over there in this Piscean energy, and because it is putting challenge to the moon, I always like to tell my people who do worry a lot, suffer with depression or anxiety, any of those things where the moods may go up and down in high flying form, please be mindful at this time. You know, ground yourself, do grounding practices, stay caught up with your doctors or whoever you check in to make sure that you are able to be grounded enough, because it is a little bit of a tougher energy. It certainly can be, you know, for sure. Now, the most intense energy of a full moon is about the previous, or excuse me, the preceding 8 hours. Now, we'll have these energies in place for about 4 weeks because we need to see, we need to look around, we need to end, we need to acknowledge, we need to adjust. So we'll have about 4 weeks of working through that, but it is smushed in between these two other moons. So it is high flying with taking a lot of responsibility for the changes in our relationships and how we're going to help to usher those particular energies in. Now, with the Jupiter, or excuse me, with Jupiter and Neptune over there, we've also got Venus, the ruler of this moon, traveling in that Piscean energy as well. And Venus is exalted in the energy of Pisces, so very happy, living her best life. Okay. Like Venus is like, I am here to do good things. And I don't know about you guys, but a couple days ago when we felt Venus shift into the energy of Pisces, did you feel the energetic release coming out of intellectual based Aquarius? Not a bad thing, right? But moving into a space where Venus is like, woo, I'm exalted over here. I love this space. I don't live here, but I love to work with this, and things get easier. It's like, I can't tell you what's different, but something's different. So that is the vibration that Venus is also offering to this particular moon, this understanding that the dissolving has got to happen. The surrender to win has got to happen. The dissolving of unhealthy traits within us, within our relationships, within our balance dynamics have to happen. They are fated to do so at this time. And the only pain, the only real sustained pain will come from our resistance to surrender. That's a lot at this particular moon, but it sure is going to be doing a lot of work to get us ready for that solar eclipse that's going to be coming April 30th as we move that into in the energy of Taurus, right? So ready, steady your space right now. I suggest too, if it's an option for you, anything that allows you to make space and process your feelings. For me, I have got a moon in Libra, okay? I like to think about how I feel. Air moons like to think about how we feel, and then we come around to feeling it eventually, okay? So I do things that allow me to mirror or see relationships. For me, I watch a good show, right? I love to watch a show. Right now, I'm going back through the show Parenthood on Hulu. I don't know if you guys have ever watched that show. And the dynamics in it are great mirrors for me to look at how to process an emotion. What does that look like? What does that feel like? For whatever reason, it drops me out of my thinking about how I feel into the actual feeling of what's going on, and that lends clarity to me. So if you're an air moon like I am, or even if you just like it, you know, if it's watching a show, if it's journaling, if it's running, if it's getting a massage so that you're actually getting into your body, if it's dancing, getting those hips moving, right? We already talked about that a couple weeks ago. Whatever it is that allows you to get into the space of actually feeling through these emotions and then being accountable for processing them, that's real healing. That's real living, right? Healing is just allowing ourselves to feel what's available, but then we have each other to process those things so that we can get good clarity on them, and we're not running at it like Aries sun, I'll just change everything. Instead, there's a softening that happens where we're able to see what pieces maybe we need to surrender so that we don't just torch the hut to the ground, okay? So pretty big new moon, pretty big full moon, oh my goodness, happening for us as we're traveling here around the 16th. The days leading up to it are going to be incredibly busy as well. We will have that Jupiter-Neptune conjunction happening as well. The node is just the nodes have long fingers, and Uranus is incredibly, incredibly electric. Uranus is in sextile with Venus. So there is a lot of electricity, and really the big vibe of this in between time as we're going through that week where the full moon's coming up is like electricity and water, right? It's a pretty electric vibe that I definitely think gives us that destiny shakeup and kicks us in different directions, because if certain relationships or the way certain relationships are going are not fated to stay with us, we will meet the resistance and have the challenge and ultimately need to end, acknowledge, or adjust them in order to move forward. So I hope that this paints a beautiful picture for you guys. I look forward to seeing after the full moon how this thing has played and panned out for you. You know, what happened for you, what realizations came up for you. Thank you so much, you guys, for spending a minute with me as well and coming into the chat. Always beautiful to see you. And Anyang, I see you out there. Annyeonghaseyo. I see you guys showing up in the chat. So thank you so much for that. Now, the next video you guys will see for me is actually going to be talking about the Jupiter and Neptune conjunction. So you can watch for that to pop up on the channel. The May videos are coming along as well. And I will have more details and information coming for you in about a week about what's happening with the YouTube Academy. We will be jumping back into classes, getting those live Q&A sessions going, and I'll let you know all of the details. We're just waiting for things on the back end to get finished up so that we can move forward on our end, but no worries. We've got a whole year 2 of the YouTube Academy to be traveling together. I'll put more information, links to other videos that may help you learn more in the description box of this video in just a few minutes. So hang tight and make sure you check it out. I love you guys a ton, and I look forward to seeing you very, very soon, especially if you are coming to Norwalk. If you are going to OPA, I will also be at ISAR as we get into ISAR position as we come to August. So wherever I get to see you, and even if it is only here online, I'm absolutely grateful to see you very, very soon. All right, my friends, I love you a ton, and I will see you next time.